Welcome, aspiring AWS AI practitioners. What you're about to hear is the Zen Guide to Cloud Fundamentals, an excerpt from the AWS Certified AI Practitioner Exam Guide. This section covers the recommended knowledge for exam candidates, presenting essential AWS concepts through a unique Zen-inspired narrative. Enjoy this creative approach to mastering the cloud fundamentals necessary for your AI certification journey.
In a bustling tech hub, a young man sat at his desk, surrounded by AWS documentation, study guides, and the soft glow of multiple computer screens displaying the AWS Management Console. His goal was clear but daunting: to pass the AWS Certified AI Practitioner exam. Yet as he delved into the study materials, he found himself overwhelmed by the vastness of the AWS cloud computing concepts that form the foundation of artificial intelligence in the AWS cloud. He had always been drawn to the cutting edge of technology, fascinated by the potential of AI on AWS to transform the world. But now, faced with the complexities of AWS infrastructure, he realized there were gaps in his knowledge he needed to fill before he could truly grasp the intricacies of AI on the AWS platform. Frustrated and seeking guidance, he reached out to his network. A senior AWS solutions architect mentioned a unique figure, a veteran AWS expert known for his unconventional teaching methods, who had helped many navigate the complex world of AWS cloud computing. This mentor, they said, had a way of explaining AWS technical concepts through ancient wisdom, earning him the nickname, the Zen Master of AWS. Intrigued and desperate for a new approach, he decided to seek out this AWS Zen Master. He found himself traveling to a quiet retreat center on the outskirts of the city, a place where AWS technology and tranquility coexisted in harmony. As he approached the center, he saw a serene garden where an older man sat cross-legged before a rock garden, tracing patterns that looked curiously like AWS architecture diagrams. This, he realized, must be the AWS Zen Master he sought. The master looked up, a knowing smile on his face.
Welcome, young seeker. You look troubled by the vastness of the AWS cloud.
Master, I aim to understand AI in the AWS cloud, but I find myself lost in the fundamentals of AWS services. I have an important AWS certification exam ahead, but I realize I need to grasp the basics first.
To build castles in the AWS cloud, one must first understand the nature of its foundational services. You seek to master AWS AI, but wisdom lies in knowing the core services upon which it stands. For the next 5 days, we will explore the core of AWS, its compute services, its storage solutions, its security measures. Only then will you be ready to ascend to the realm of artificial intelligence on AWS.
I'm ready to learn about AWS, Master.
Then let us begin. Like this stone in the garden, each AWS service has its place and purpose. Together, they form the landscape upon which your AI dreams will be built in the AWS cloud.
As the first lesson on AWS core services were about to begin, he felt a new sense of clarity. He knew that this journey through the fundamentals of AWS would be the key to unlocking his understanding of AI in the AWS cloud, and ultimately, to passing his AWS certification exam. The Zen dojo is quiet and peaceful. The sound of a bamboo fountain adds rhythm to the calm atmosphere. The student sits cross-legged, surrounded by books and notes, preparing for an upcoming exam. The Zen master observes the student's focused expression.
You seem deep in thought, young seeker. What weighs on your mind today?
Master, I'm preparing for an exam on the cloud, but there are so many services and I feel overwhelmed by all the details.
Ah, the cloud, a vast and intricate domain indeed. To navigate it well, you must first understand its core elements. Let us focus today on 4 essential tools: EC2, S3, Lambda, and SageMaker. Each plays a unique role in this digital landscape.
4 tools? How do they fit together, Master?
Think of them as different forces in nature. First, there is strength, the power to handle your heaviest tasks. This strength comes from virtual servers, known as EC2. Imagine a mighty ox, sturdy and reliable, that pulls the heaviest loads. EC2 gives you control over the compute capacity to run applications, whether for web hosting, data processing, or managing complex computations.
So, EC2 is for running applications that need more control?
Exactly. You decide how much power you need, much like selecting the right oxen for the work at hand. Next, consider shelter, the safe storage of your valuable data. This is where S3 comes in. Picture a deep and secure well where you store everything important, from frequently accessed data to rare archives. S3 keeps your data safe and available whenever you need it.
I see. EC2 provides the power and S3 stores the data securely. What about the other tools?
Then there is speed, the ability to act swiftly and decisively. This is the domain of Lambda, the silent ninja of the cloud. Lambda moves with agility, executing tasks only when called upon, striking quickly and efficiently without leaving a trace. It is perfect for short-lived tasks triggered by events, requiring no constant presence, no idle time, and no management of underlying infrastructure.
So, Lambda is like a ninja, striking only when needed?
Precisely. For tasks that come and go, Lambda is your swift blade, unseen until the moment of action. Finally, we have guidance, the wisdom to learn and grow, which is embodied by SageMaker. SageMaker is the sage that guides you through the complex terrain of machine learning, providing tools to build, train, and deploy models. It simplifies the path, allowing you to focus on creating intelligent solutions.
So, EC2 gives strength, S3 provides shelter, Lambda is the swift ninja for quick tasks, and SageMaker offers guidance in machine learning. Each one has a specific role.
The Zen master pauses and then reaches into his robe, pulling out an ancient scroll. He hands it to the student with a serene smile.
Here, take this scroll. It contains the deeper knowledge you seek, the detailed workings of each tool.
The student unrolls the scroll and begins to read, finding technical details written with care and precision.
Scroll of Knowledge, technical details of the core services. Amazon EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud, a scalable compute service that provides virtual servers. You can choose instance types depending on your workload, whether you need more CPU power, memory, or storage. EC2 is ideal for applications that require full control over the operating system, software, and networking. Amazon S3, Simple Storage Service. An object storage service designed to store and retrieve any amount of data from anywhere. S3 offers different storage classes for various use cases. Standard for frequently accessed data, infrequent access for less frequently accessed data, and Glacier for archival storage. It provides high durability, scalability, and security. AWS Lambda, a serverless compute service that runs code in response to events, automatically managing the compute resources required. It scales with demand, and you pay only for the compute time consumed. Lambda is perfect for event-driven tasks, such as processing file uploads or handling API requests. Amazon SageMaker, a fully managed service that provides an environment to build, train, and deploy machine learning models. SageMaker includes tools like Jupyter Notebooks, built-in algorithms, and automatic model tuning. It is designed to streamline the machine learning workflow from data preparation to model deployment.
This scroll has given me the details I needed, Master. I feel more prepared now.
You have learned much today. Remember, understanding the tools at your disposal is the first step toward mastery.
The student bows deeply, holding the scroll with newfound confidence, ready to continue their studies. The Zen dojo is peaceful, with a gentle breeze rustling the leaves outside. The student sits with a thoughtful expression, still reflecting on the previous day's lessons. The Zen master watches from a distance and slowly approaches, sensing the student's contemplation.
I see you are deep in thought again today, young seeker. What question lingers in your mind?
I have been thinking about the cloud and how it is kept safe. I understand the services, but I am not sure who is responsible for what. It seems unclear.
The question of responsibility. The cloud is like a great garden, shared between many hands. To tend it well, we must know which parts are ours to care for, and which belong to others. Today, we shall speak of the shared responsibility that keeps the cloud secure.
Shared responsibility? How does that work?
Imagine a beautiful garden where the earth holds the roots, and the gardener tends to the plants. In the cloud, there are also two caretakers, the provider and the customer. The provider, like the earth, is responsible for the security of the cloud, the foundation, the soil, the physical structure. You, the customer, are the gardener. You are responsible for the security in the cloud, the plants, the flowers, and the fruits that grow there.
I see. So there are two parts, the foundation and what is built upon it.
Exactly. The provider secures the infrastructure, data centers, hardware, and networks. This is their domain. You, however, must secure what you place within the cloud, your applications, your data, your settings. Think of it as a partnership, where both must do their part to keep the garden flourishing.
That makes sense, but what about when our responsibilities overlap?
There are indeed places where responsibilities meet. Some tasks, like watering and weeding, are shared. In the cloud, this could mean things like patching systems or configuring security settings. Both sides must work in harmony, each knowing their role to ensure the garden remains healthy.
The Zen master reaches into his robe once more and hands the student a new scroll.
Here, take this scroll. It will provide you with deeper insight into the specific roles and responsibilities and how they intertwine.
The student unrolls the scroll and begins to read the detailed explanations.
Scroll of Knowledge, Understanding the AWS Shared Responsibility Model. Task 1. Security of the Cloud, Provider's Responsibility. The cloud provider is responsible for protecting the infrastructure that runs all of the services offered in the cloud. This includes A. Physical protection, securing data centers against unauthorized access, natural disasters, and other threats. B. Infrastructure maintenance, managing the underlying hardware, software, and networking, and ensuring that these components are updated and maintained. C. Global network security, maintaining the security of the global infrastructure that connects data centers, including traffic protection and redundancy. Task 2. Security in the cloud. Customer's responsibility. The customer is responsible for the security of everything they build and run within the cloud environment, including A. Data protection, encrypting sensitive data, managing access controls, and ensuring data integrity. B. Identity and access management, defining who can access resources and what actions they are permitted to perform. C. Application security, securing applications from vulnerabilities through proper coding, configuration, and regular updates. D. Network security, designing secure network architectures, setting up virtual networks, firewalls, and access controls. Task 3. Shared responsibilities. Certain responsibilities are shared between the provider and the customer. These are A. Patch management. The provider handles patching for the infrastructure, while the customer is responsible for patching their operating systems, databases, and applications. B. Configuration management. The provider offers tools and best practices for secure configurations, but the customer must ensure that their specific configurations are correct. C. Training and awareness. The provider offers training materials and guidance, but the customer is responsible for ensuring their team understands and follows these best practices. Task 4. Principles for effective shared responsibility. A. Know your role. Clearly understand what you are responsible for securing and what the provider secures. B. Use best practices. Follow best practices for security configurations, access management, and data protection. C. Collaborate actively. Maintain open communication and collaboration between your team and the provider to address any gaps or overlaps in responsibilities.
This scroll clarifies many things, Master. I understand now how the responsibilities are shared.
You have done well today, young seeker. Remember, in a shared garden, both the earth and the gardener must play their parts to create a space of growth and safety.
The student bows deeply, holding the scroll with a sense of understanding and readiness to continue their journey. The Zen dojo is calm, with the soft rustling of leaves outside. The student sits with a look of curiosity and determination. The Zen master, sensing the student's eagerness to learn, approaches with a gentle smile.
I see a spark of curiosity in your eyes today, young seeker. What question brings you here?
I have been learning about the cloud, and I understand the shared responsibilities, but I am still unclear about how to control access to my resources. How do I ensure only the right people can enter my domain?
A wise question, indeed. In the cloud, managing access is like guarding the gates of a fortress. You must decide who can enter, who can leave, and what each visitor is allowed to do. Today, we shall explore the art of access control, known as Identity and Access Management, or IAM.
How does IAM work, Master?
Imagine a gatekeeper who watches over your domain. This gatekeeper must recognize all who approach, users, groups, or services, and know what permissions they hold. IAM is like this gatekeeper, defining who can do what, where, and when within your cloud environment.
So, IAM helps me control who can access my resources and what they can do.
Exactly. You must define your principals, those who have access, and the policies that describe what actions they are permitted or denied. IAM is your tool to create these definitions, to establish rules, and to enforce them with precision.
I understand, but how do I create these rules?
There are many ways to craft your rules, some for individuals, others for groups, and still others for roles assumed by different entities. But to understand this fully, you must study the details. Here, take this scroll. It will reveal the intricacies of IAM and how to wield it wisely.
The Zen master hands the student a scroll with a knowing smile. The student carefully unrolls it and begins to read.
Scroll of Knowledge, Mastering AWS Identity and Access Management, IAM. First, Principles. In IAM, a principal is any entity that can perform actions on AWS resources. Principals include A. Users, individual identities created within your account that represent people or applications. B. Groups, collections of users who share the same permissions. C. Roles, a type of IAM identity that defines a set of permissions for making AWS service requests. Roles can be assumed by trusted entities, including IAM users, AWS services, users from other AWS accounts, or federated users. Roles provide a secure way to grant temporary access without sharing long-term credentials. Second, policies. Policies are JSON documents that define what actions are allowed or denied on specific AWS resources. They are attached to users, groups, or roles to enforce security controls. There are two main types of policies. A. Identity-based policies, attached directly to users, groups, or roles, specifying what actions they are allowed to perform on which resources. B. Resource-based policies. JSON policy documents attached directly to AWS resources, such as S3 buckets, SQS queues, or KMS keys, that define who can access the resource and what actions they can perform. These policies control access to the resource regardless of the identity's AWS account, allowing for fine-grained access control within the same account or across different AWS accounts. Third, policy evaluation logic. AWS evaluates multiple policies, both identity-based and resource-based, to determine whether a request should be allowed or denied. If a single policy denies access, the request is denied. Fourth, additional controls. A. Permission boundaries. Set the maximum permissions a user or role can have, acting as a guardrail. B. Service control policies, SCPs, applied at the organization level to control what services and actions are allowed or denied for all accounts in an organization. C. AWS STS, Security Token Service, provides temporary, limited privilege credentials for accessing AWS resources securely. Fifth, best practices for IAM. A. Principle of least privilege. Grant only the permissions necessary for a task. B. Use roles instead of long-term credentials. Leverage roles for temporary access, reducing the risk of compromised credentials. C. Enable multi-factor authentication, MFA. Add an extra layer of security to sensitive operations and accounts. D. Regularly review permissions. Audit and review IAM policies and roles to ensure they are still necessary and appropriate.
This scroll is enlightening, Master. Now I see how to guard my gates and control access within the cloud.
You have learned well today, young seeker. Remember, true security comes from knowing who can enter your gates and what they are allowed to do once inside.
The student bows deeply, holding the scroll with a sense of clarity and readiness to continue their journey. The Zen dojo is quiet, the sound of a distant stream adding to the sense of calm. The student sits cross-legged, eyes closed, contemplating the lessons learned so far. The Zen master approaches quietly, sensing a question forming in the student's mind.
I see the river of thought flows deep within you today, young seeker. What question brings you here?
I have been reflecting on the cloud, and I understand its tools and principles, but I am still unsure how it spans the world. How does the cloud connect across great distances, and why should I care where my resources reside?
A wise question. The cloud, like a vast mountain range, stretches across many lands. To use it well, you must understand its geography, the peaks and valleys, the forests and rivers. Today, we shall speak of the cloud's global infrastructure, which connects these distant places.
Why is this global infrastructure so important, Master?
Imagine a great tree with its roots spreading wide and deep into the earth. Each root represents a different part of the world, drawing strength and sustenance from the soil. In the same way, the cloud is made up of regions, availability zones, and edge locations, each serving a different purpose, all interconnected to provide strength and reach.
I see. Regions, zones, and edge locations are like parts of a great network that spreads across the world.
Indeed, the regions are like vast continents, each a separate part of the world with its own unique qualities. Within each region, there are availability zones, like cities within a country, close but resilient against disasters that may strike one or the other. And then there are edge locations, the outposts that bring the cloud closer to the people, shortening the distance data must travel.
So, choosing where to place resources in this network affects how they perform and are protected?
Exactly. The places you choose to plant your seeds determine how quickly they grow and how well they withstand storms. But to understand this fully, you must study the details. Here, take this scroll. It will guide you through the deeper knowledge of the cloud's global infrastructure.
The Zen master reaches into his robe and hands the student a scroll. The student carefully unrolls it and begins to read.
Scroll of Knowledge, Navigating the AWS Global Infrastructure. 1. Regions. AWS regions are geographically separate areas designed to offer flexibility and fault tolerance. Each region operates independently and contains multiple availability zones, AZs. Regions are chosen based on factors like proximity to users, regulatory requirements, and service availability. 2. Availability zones, AZs. Availability zones are isolated locations within an AWS region, each consisting of one or more discrete data centers with independent power, networking, and cooling. By deploying resources across multiple AZs, you increase redundancy and resilience, ensuring high availability and fault tolerance for your applications. 3. Data centers within AZs. Each availability zone consists of one or more data centers that provide high levels of security, redundancy, and availability. These data centers are designed to withstand failures and natural disasters, maintaining operations even if one data center goes offline. 4. Edge locations. Edge locations are sites that deliver content closer to users, reducing latency and improving performance for global applications. They are critical for content delivery networks, CDNs, and services that require quick access to data from anywhere in the world. 5. Local zones and wavelength zones. Local zones bring AWS services closer to metropolitan areas for ultra-low latency, while wavelength zones embed compute and storage services at the edge of 5G networks for applications needing millisecond latency. 6. Best practices for using global infrastructure. A. Select regions wisely. Choose regions based on proximity to users, compliance requirements, and cost. B. Leverage multiple AZs. Deploy resources across multiple AZs to improve availability and fault tolerance. C. Use edge locations. Optimize performance by delivering content closer to your users through edge locations.
His scroll has clarified much, Master. Now I see how the cloud spreads across the world and why it matters where I place my resources.
You have done well today, young seeker. Remember, just as a tree spreads its roots wisely, so too must you place your resources with thought and care to grow strong in the cloud.
The student bows deeply, holding the scroll with a sense of understanding and readiness to continue their journey. The Zen dojo is bathed in the warm glow of the setting sun. The student sits quietly, reflecting on the lessons learned over the past days. The Zen master approaches slowly, sensing the student's readiness for one final lesson.
You have traveled far on this journey, young seeker. What question remains unanswered in your mind?
I have learned about the tools of the cloud, the principles of security, and the vast infrastructure that spans the world, but I still do not understand how to manage costs. The cloud offers so many choices, but how do I choose wisely to balance performance and price?
An excellent question. The cloud, like a great marketplace, offers many paths to achieve your goals. Each path has its own cost, its own value. To master the cloud, you must learn how to navigate this marketplace wisely. Today, we shall speak of the different pricing models that the cloud offers.
How did these pricing models work, Master?
Imagine you are a merchant in a bustling bazaar. You have many ways to acquire your goods, some quickly, some at a discount, and some with a long-term commitment. In the cloud, there are also many ways to pay for the resources you use, some flexible, some reserved, and some opportunistic. To choose the right path, you must understand your needs and match them with the correct model.
I see. So the pricing models are like different strategies for buying what I need.
Exactly. You can pay as you go for the freedom to adapt, commit to long-term use for a lower price, or even bid for surplus resources at a steep discount. But each path has its strengths and its trade-offs. To understand this fully, you must study the details. Here, take this final scroll. It contains the knowledge of the different pricing models and how to use them wisely.
The Zen master hands the student a scroll with a serene expression. The student carefully unrolls it and begins to read.
Scroll of Knowledge, Understanding, AWS, Service Pricing Models. 1. On-demand instances. Pay for compute or database capacity by the hour, Windows instances, or second, Linux instances with no long-term commitment. This model is ideal for short-term, unpredictable workloads that cannot be interrupted. It offers the most flexibility, but at a higher cost. Think of it as renting by the day. You pay only for what you use, when you use it. 2. Reserved instances. Commit to using a specific instance type in a specific region for a 1 or 3 year term in exchange for a significant discount, up to 75% compared to on-demand prices. This model is suitable for applications with predictable usage. It's like booking a hotel room for a whole year rather than just a night. 3. Savings plans. Similar to reserved instances but more flexible, allowing you to commit to a consistent amount of usage measured in dollars per hour for a 1 or 3 year term. You can switch between instance types, sizes, and regions, unlike reserved instances. It's like a subscription that offers discounts across different services. The discount can be up to 72% compared to on-demand prices. 4. Spot instances. Use unused EC2 capacity at discounts of up to 90% compared to on-demand prices. AWS can reclaim these instances with a 2-minute warning when EC2 needs the capacity back. This model is ideal for fault-tolerant, flexible, or stateless applications. It's like using spare capacity at a steep discount, but with the understanding that it may be reclaimed on short notice. 5. Dedicated hosts. Physical servers fully dedicated to your use. You have visibility into the underlying hardware and can control instance placement, often required for regulatory compliance or licensing reasons. It's like owning an entire apartment building where you can manage individual apartments. 6. Dedicated instances. Instances that run on hardware dedicated to a single customer, but without the additional visibility and control of dedicated hosts. It's like renting an entire floor of an apartment building. You have privacy, but less control over specific apartment assignments. 7. Free tier. AWS offers 3 types of free tier to allow users to explore and learn. These are A. Always free. Services that are always free for any user, up to certain limits, such as monitoring and alerts. B. 12 months free. For new users, AWS provides a set of services at no cost for the first 12 months, such as compute hours, storage, and data transfers up to certain limits. C. Trials for new services. AWS occasionally introduces new services with a free trial period, allowing users to experiment with these services without any cost during the promotional period. 8. Data transfer costs. Be mindful of data transfer costs, which can add up, especially when moving data out of AWS or between regions. Understanding where your data flows and optimizing these paths can lead to significant savings. 9. Best practices for cost management. A. Monitor usage. Regularly track your resource usage and spending. B. Use the right pricing model. Align your usage patterns with the appropriate pricing model, on demand for flexibility, reserved or savings plans for predictable workloads, and spot for flexible tasks. C. Leverage cost management tools. Use cost calculators, budgeting tools, and monitoring services to optimize spending.
This scroll is most enlightening, Master. Now I see how to navigate the marketplace of the cloud and make wise choices.
You have learned well today, young seeker. Remember, in the marketplace, knowledge is your greatest currency. Choose with wisdom, and you will prosper.
The Zen dojo is tranquil, with the sun setting behind the mountains. casting a golden glow over the garden. The student stands before the Zen master, holding the scrolls of knowledge, a sense of clarity and readiness in their eyes.
You have traveled far on this journey, young seeker. You have learned to wield the tools of the cloud with wisdom, to compute with strength, to store with care, to act with speed, and to learn with insight. But remember, mastery is not a destination. It is a path you walk every day.
Thank you, Master. Your teachings have brought me much understanding, but I know there is still much more to learn.
Indeed, the cloud, like the wind, is always shifting. Its regions span continents, its availability zones provide resilience, and its edge locations bring data closer to the people. You must be as flexible as the cloud itself, adapting to new services, new regions, and new innovations.
I understand, Master. But what if I face challenges or uncertainty in this vast domain?
Challenges are the data that flows through the network of life, young seeker. When they appear, remember this. The true architect of the cloud does not fear complexity, but embraces it with curiosity. When you are uncertain, consider your options like pricing models. Know when to be flexible, when to reserve, and when to seize an opportunity.
I will try, Master, but what if I make mistakes?
Mistakes are the logs of your experience. They are not to be feared, but learned from. Just as in the cloud, where monitoring and alerts guide you back to balance, so too must you watch your actions and adjust as needed. Use your failures to fine-tune your journey, like SageMaker refining a model through experience.
The Zen master gazes toward the distant mountains, a serene smile on their face.
Remember, every request you make shapes your environment. Every permission defines your security, and every choice has a cost. Choose wisely, like selecting the right region for your needs, and you will find balance. The cloud is vast, but your mind is vaster still. Trust in your path, adapt with each deployment, and always seek new knowledge.
The student, deeply moved by the master's words, bows once more.
Thank you, Master. I will carry these lessons into every instance I launch and every decision I make.
Go forth, young seeker, like a well-tuned model, always learning, always evolving. Remember, the cloud is not the limit, but a beginning. The journey continues with every new project, every new idea, and every new dawn.
The Zen master turns back to the garden, continuing to rake the stones into new, intricate patterns, symbolizing infinite possibilities. The student walks away, scrolls in hand, ready to embark on the next stage of their journey in the cloud. As the final echoes of the story fade, the Zen master turns his gaze directly to you, the listener, his eyes twinkling with ancient wisdom and modern knowledge.
Seeker of cloud wisdom, you have journeyed with us through the realms of AWS, from its foundational services to the peaks of artificial intelligence. But like all great journeys, this is merely a beginning. For those who wish to delve deeper into the mysteries of AWS and AI, to continue along the path towards true mastery and certification, I have inscribed our teachings and more in a tome of digital wisdom. It awaits you in the great library of Kindle, ready to guide you further in your quest for knowledge. Seek out this book and let it be your companion as you navigate the vast and ever-changing landscape of the AWS cloud. May it illuminate your path as you strive for greater understanding and ultimately success in your AWS certified AI practitioner exam. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. You have taken that step today. Now, let this book be your guide for the road ahead.